Hey everyone, today we are at Kenny Ranch. It's along Rough and Ready Highway in Grass Valley. You park at the Twin Cities Church, and then the trail runs on the east side of Rough and Ready Highway. And right across the street from where I'm sitting is Hell's Half Acre, which is one of our important plant areas. And it has a really unique soil type that's made from eroded volcanic. So there was a volcanic lava flow, which then was eroded over time, and then the soils here are very thin, as a result of that. And you get really interesting plants because the geology dictates what plants grow in a certain area. So you have unique geology, you get unique plants. And so Hell's Half Acre is really known for its wildflower displays. But right across the street here at Kenny Ranch, you can see the exact same plant communities. And the only difference between the two being that Hell's Half Acre is actually privately owned and is not accessible to the public. However, here at Kenny Ranch, anyone can come walk this trail and see the wildflowers. So it's your chance to see some of our beautiful lupins here. These are sky lupins. And then I don't know if you can make out the yellow flower there. That is Ram's Madia, although actually right now the genus is Gentiana ramii. It's one of our smaller, carpet-forming Madia species, or it's actually not a Madia. It's related to Madias though. And then, of course, you can see the little pink flowers, which are non-native. Those are called windmill pinks or wild carnations, and those are in the Petrahagia genus. That's in the pink family, Caryophyllaceae. So they're invasive and non-native, and sort of filling this field here, but they're not too much of a problem because they don't exactly block out other plants necessarily. They don't have like a basal rosette, or they don't have a spreading quality. They sort of just send up a single flowering stalk, and so they're less impactful. But yeah, so I think that's the plants around here, but I'll just lift you up a little bit so you can see what we're looking at here. This is that volcanic, those are volcanic boulders. This is the volcanic soils here, very dry already. So we're almost like past peak. We had a very dry year this year, so that's just how things are gonna be. But all right, let's walk around and let's see what we can find. I can already see something over here that's interesting. We have one of our native clovers. If I can get that to focus. There you go. So there you go. That's this is Trifolium wildenovii. This is the tomcat clover. And so it has these really beautiful, multi-toned pea family flowers here. With, they have the pink banner and the white keels that are spreading there. And then one easy way to tell this species apart from other clovers is look at the leaves. So it does have the trifoliate, meaning three-lobed leaves that clovers have, but these ones are very, very thin. So it's pretty easy to tell what you're looking at there. And what do we have in this area? Anything else? Well, we have a little Johnny Tuck. Johnny Tuck right there. That's Triphosaria eriantha in the broomrape family, which is Orobanchiaceae. And yeah, it's sort of at the end of its life here, making its seeds already. Flowers are almost done, but it grows in profusions in these sort of shallow soils. Oh, and there's another clover right behind it. And this one is pretty unique. The flowers, very interesting. These ones are a little older, but when they're slightly younger than this, they resemble a cow udder, sort of, and that gives rise to its common name, which is cowbag clover. So that's another one of our, relatively common clovers that we have out here. And why don't we take a little walk? Let's see what else we find. Certainly, we have this plant, which is actually a lot more noticeable when it's in seed. This one right here is Europappus lindleyi. We call this silver puffs. So it looks like a very small version of like the salsify, one of our non-native species. It's in the aster family, a little yellow composite flower. But then once it goes to seed, you have these really beautiful, this little part right here, the seed is actually connected at the bottom there, and this little like winged part that's shaped interestingly is called the pappus. And so yeah, with the pappus, it comes to a point, which is something you need to take note of so you don't confuse it with one of its lookalikes called blowwives. That's another one where the pappus is really gorgeous, and it's more showy than the flowers themselves. But you can see it's growing in this little area. There's several of them. So they have already flowered and they are done for the year. But all right, let's move on. Okay, so here's something to talk about. This nice little wildflower display here. We have a little white flower, and this one will grow in areas like this, but the sections that are slightly wetter, so around these little hills and berms, it shows up along the course of any waterways or wet areas, it'll show up. And this right here is our beautiful plant called meadow foam. This is Limnanthes alba. Alba is Latin for white, so this is white meadow foam. Limnanthes is the genus for the meadow foams. There's several of them. There's one that grows in our area called Douglas's meadow foam that has yellow petals with white tips, and then there's a woolly meadow foam which has woolly herbage. And lastly, there's a rare species that grows only on Table Mountain over in Butte County, and that's the Table Mountain meadow foam. So that one's worth pointing out. And then also we have our old favorite, a local, very common geophyte known as blue dix. This they just changed the name of. It's now Dipterostemon capitatum. It used to be Dichelostoma capitatus, but the plant hasn't changed, just the name, because they realized that this one is actually pretty distantly related to the Dichelostomas, relatively compared to how Dichelostomas are related to each other. This one's a bit different, so it warrants its own genus, which is now Dipterostemon. But yeah, this is blue dix. These are really early plants, and so they pop and then set seed and then die back below the ground and then spend the hot part of the year underneath the ground, just in a state of dormancy. And then lastly, in this section anyway, we have our good friend in the Brassica family. This right here is fringe pod, also known as spoke pod. There's a bunch of different common names for it, but the scientific name is Thysanocarpus curvipes, and called curvipes because you can see each of these seed pods is on a little kind of curved, I don't even know what you'd call that. Maybe a pedicel, because the flowers used to be on top of it. But yeah, that little stalk right there, that little stem holding the seed pod has a curve. And then, of course, the spokes. There's another species where the spokes don't actually create a hole in the seed there. But since this one does have the holes and those curved pods, we know that it is the Thysanocarpus curvipes. They also call this the sand fringe pod. And these little flowers at the top there. So, yeah, they're pretty much wrapped up, pretty much done. And I think another diagnostic feature is the color of the pollen or the color of the stamens. But these flowers are wrapped up, and even when they're not wrapped up, they're pretty typically like very small. And so you need a hand lens to really make out what you're seeing. And oh, here's something to point out. We have a grass here. And this is one of our native annual grasses. And one thing to notice is all of these little stalks are pointing up, except for that bottom one. That bottom one's pointing down, right? And I forget the scientific name for this one, but I know the common name is 6 weeks grass, named for the fact that it grows and seeds and dies in as little as 6 weeks. But it is one of our native annual grasses, one of the few native annual grasses that we have remaining. Most of our native grasses are perennials, and most of the annual grasses that you see are non-native species. So yeah, but it's a treat to see that there are some native grass species hanging on in this absolute beautiful, beautiful spot. All right, this is one of the specialty plants that grows here in the volcanic soils of the Kenny Ranch and Health Half Acre area. We are looking at the purple pansy lip monkey flower. It is a absolutely gorgeous purple monkey flower, very small. So here's my hand so you can get some concept of the size, but absolutely stunningly gorgeous. And so it just grows this little basal rosette of leaves and then sends the flower up to the top. So there's the little basal rosette down there at the bottom, and then sends this flower stalk up, and just absolutely gorgeous. I love these monkey flowers, and if you're really lucky, every once in a while you get a white version of these as well. So and they do tend to grow in the paths. They really don't like competition, is my guess, and so they grow in the walkways. So be careful where you're walking when you're out here. You don't want to step on the monkey flowers. And I might as well just point out while we're here, and I don't know if the camera's picking this up, but this guy right here is a Isoetes species. This is known as a quillwort. It also grows in this sort of specialty, it's almost like a vernal pool setup, very hard pan soil, and the water drains slowly. And so this is one of the bryophytes, one of the quillworts. It does not develop flowers beyond this. It just kind of always just looks like this. And this is actually a fern ally. So it's related to our ferns, believe it or not. Yeah, so this one I believe is Isoetes or Cuttii. So nice little find down here, hanging out with the monkey flowers. Okay, so this is going to be our last plant of the day, and go figure, it's a rare plant. It is a listed rare plant. There's a little patch of it right here. It only grows in these volcanic soils. This is one of our wild buckwheats. This is Pratton's buckwheat, or Nevada City buckwheat. That's Eriogonum prattonianum. And the type specimen for this species was collected in Nevada City. That's why it's called that. It's known pretty much from only the local area. It's a mid-sized shrub. You can see these are the flowers from last year. It sends up beautiful flowers like most of our buckwheats. And yeah, this one I wish I could show you it in flower, but unfortunately it's just one of those hot summer flowers. So we got a couple months yet. But yeah, so Eriogonum prattonianum, Pratton's buckwheat. All right, well, I think it's a great idea to keep this video short and sweet as opposed to the normal hour-long videos that we've been putting together. But definitely, if you get a chance to come down and check out the Kenny Ranch trails, the Wildflower Ridge Trail, Bear Yuba Land Trust does a wonderful job taking care of this area. And if you do continue the trail all the way down, you enter more forested areas, and there's Humboldt lilies and just gorgeous forest plants. You get a lot of diversity walking on this trail. It's pretty easy, maybe 2.5 miles or so. Not a lot of elevation change, just a teeny bit of up and down, and highly recommended. This is one of our special places. So, well, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a wonderful day.